Good afternoon, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you and your loved ones are healthy and safe. My name is Randy Bell, and I'm the director of the Global Energy Center at the Atlantic Council. Thank you for joining us for EnergySource Innovation Stream, where we highlight new energy technologies with the potential to reshape the global energy system. Today, we will be hearing from Babur Ozden, founder and chief executive officer of MANA, on how digital knowledge technologies can boost energy companies' value and profitability. He will present a case study on developing AI for shipping 2 billion barrels of oil per year. And also, for the second week in a row, we have folks calling in from Texas. Babur has an MBA from Rice University and a BA in computer science from UT Austin. And just last week, we had Michael Weber calling in from UT Austin. So great to be highlighting folks from Texas. Before we get started, 2 administrative details. First, you can follow us on Twitter at AC Global Energy and use the hashtag InnovationStream. Second, after Babur's presentation, you can submit questions through the Q&A function on Zoom, and I'll try to get to as many of these as I can. If you're watching on another platform like YouTube, unfortunately, we cannot take your questions. So please let me welcome Babur Ozden to the Atlantic Council. Babur, thank you so much for joining us today. Really glad that you're here.
Thank you, Randy. It's been a great pleasure to visit with you and your audience. Thank you very much.
Welcome. So, you were telling me the other day your company went officeless well before the COVID-19 crisis. At the Atlantic Council, we've been working remotely for 2 months. But so you were far ahead of the curve on preparing for remote work. How is that affecting you, and how is MANA doing in these unprecedented times?
Well, of course, the reason we went officeless about a year ago, last summer, has nothing to do with the current situation, and it was definitely by popular demand of our team members. Most people, I think, prefer to do their work, and our line of work lends itself to that. Prefer to do the work from home rather than fight a significant amount of commute every day. So that's the commute, the time wasted in commute has been the driving force. Second was that when you have an office, you tend to hire from that city and that town, but the talent for our line of business is global. So we have, without an office, you can start think very widely and openly where you find the best talent for the work. They could be anywhere on the planet as long as they have an proper access to the system. So looking at those 2 parameters that we went and became an officeless last summer, we implemented first in the US, then the rest of the world. And I must say that we were kind of prepared to that when the world shut itself for shelter from home.
Yeah. You were preparing for the future, but you're also, at least in your own small way, responsible for a drop in oil demand from the lack of commuting. So perhaps if you're thinking about shipping oil, maybe not in the business's best interest.
That's correct.
Okay, one more question before we get started, which I must ask: what does the Q stand for in MANA's Q Knowledge platform?
Well, there are a number of versions of it, but the most accurate version is that in our line of business, some well-known companies name their artificially intelligent software products and offerings with well-known names like Einstein, Leonardo, Watson, and etc. And as the maker of a tool to give people the company's AI capabilities, we choose Q. Coming from the James Bond movie, the Q, the tool maker, for very intelligent people, use our tools in the right places in the right time. So
that's fantastic. Well, I think that's a good spot as any for you to get started. So if you can share your screen, we'll get started with your presentation.
Okay, let's do that.
Out there, it will be 10 minutes or so of presentation, then we'll...
Okay, I just want to do a quick check. Is my screen visible?
We're not seeing your screen currently.
Not
if you
yet.
could try again, please.
Okay, let's do that. Give me a second. I do share screen. Here we go.
There we go.
How about now?
And just go into presentation mode and you will be good.
Okay, let's see. Let's do the presentation mode. Here we go. Okay. Today, what I wanted to do is to talk about some intelligent technologies that are out there available in the market that's helping some of the world's largest companies to solve some very complex problems. But rather than to talk technology, I wanted to highlight one particular use case that our product have been extremely instrumental in its development and its day-to-day operation. So I picked one of our customers, the way they use our product, and they developed what we call an intelligent knowledge application to optimize the shipment of their liquid petroleum trades. So we're talking, this will be an application that helps this major oil and gas trading company who ships about 6 million barrels of oil, liquid petroleum every day. And the application's entire purpose, and I'll go into detail, is to give our customer an opportunity to improve its trading profit margins while reducing shipment costs significantly. And in the process, I will also talk what it means to build an application that has AI capabilities in it. Rather than speak concepts, I'm going to go in some actual examples. So just the thumbnail of the application, it took about 10 people over a year to develop this application, and it runs on Microsoft Azure Cloud and developed with our product called ManaQ. Over 200 people at our client depend on the application on a daily fashion, and the return on investment to the business is measured in tens of millions of dollars a year. Our client, by using this application, ships at the end of this year, most likely will be shipping around 2.2 billion barrels of oil. That'll be their annual total. So we're talking a significant percentage of the world's oil consumption going through an application like this to improve the way this shipments could be done in a better cost settings. But before I dive into that, I just want to share with you how we see artificial intelligence. As you can imagine, the word AI has been washing everywhere. All the vendors in the technology space, we love to use this word, put it in front of it, in the middle of it, or at the end of our products names, our logos. But there are certain fundamentals I think I will have to at least share with you what we think AI is, what's it about. It's some very highlights. First of all, AI is not a technology. So there's not one technology that you buy and you have AI. AI is a capability. You develop it for a very specific purpose by using number of different technologies, a number of different tools. So the concept of out-of-box AI, that you buy a piece of software or a piece of hardware, install something, you have AI, is a myth. It is a significant investment. It has to be to a very specific purpose. So if you want to remember, it's not a technology, it's a capability, and it needs to be developed. And it comes sort of in two categories, or what you develop as AI capability falls in two categories. One I would call narrow AI. The other is more general AI. A narrow AI would be an an AI capability to be able to recognize if there is a human nose in digital photographs, for example. That will be a very narrow application of AI. A more general AI will be to far more complex use. It would be like, for example, a question that can be answered, which stocks to hold on and which stocks to buy, would be a more general. If you can develop an AI capability to help you with that purchase decision, sell by this decision, be a general AI. Naturally, a general AI is far more complex than narrow AI. It takes longer, more resources, and more dollars to build general AI capability over narrow AI. And I guess the one we all know, like with any technology, AI does either automate the jobs that have been that performed by people or augment people. So you either replace people with your AI solutions or you build AI capabilities to augment people to do their jobs faster or better or different. But this is not any different than any technology throughout human history. We use technology to automate things and augment ourselves. So there's nothing new from AI front at this stage. Lastly, before I move on to our shipping application, I would like to give you a test to sort of, if somebody's pitching you something AI, I give you 4 questions that you should ask the vendor or someone to demonstrate what they pitch is really AI capable. So for a system or an application or a device or an equipment to be AI capable, it has to be able to demonstrate 4 capabilities. And number 1, and it has to be able to observe and learn its domain, and this domain is that's specific to that problem domain. Second, it needs to be able to reason against it. And the third, it needs to be able to act or decide. And then lastly, and probably more importantly, it needs to be self-learn from the efficacies of those decisions and actions. If a system cannot display any one of these capabilities, it is not AI. You're bombarded with a marketing brochure at best. So it is extremely important when you receive an AI pitch, in the company or whoever's doing that pitch, they need to be able to demonstrate that their offering is capable of these 4 actions. Okay, let's move into our application that I want to discuss with you today. Is our client owns a group of vessels. These are massive tankers, and a group of tankers that it has long-term contracts, and also gets tankers in the spot markets to be able to do an average shipment of 4 to 6 million barrels a day. So we're talking about orchestration of dozens of massive maritime vessels to be able to do these daily large quantities of petroleum shipments. The environment, the decision environment is extremely dynamic. There is constant changes in the global oil supply and demand. The vessels that you may rent or contract could be anywhere on the planet. Their availability could change daily. And naturally, the weather, strikes, civil unrest, terror threats, and war threats or political threats make it sometimes difficult to find the routes or the harbors and the ports where you could stop. So it is a highly complex, highly dynamic daily decision environment to be able to properly load and discharge petroleum products on these dozens of massive vessels. There are about 30 important elements in a decision when a human being makes these decisions. So each one is a complex, small problem domain of itself. So I want to lay out here the complexity of a decision is that somebody or something needs to consider every single one of these decision elements, and there are about 30 of them, and you have really only a couple of hours, at most maybe a day, to make a decision that how you're going to ship that trade. And when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil, and each element is extremely complex itself. So the environment that we're looking at, it's some of the most complex operations of human civilization, is moving things globally in vessels on oceans. So how do you turn this environment, how do you create and develop an application that can display, then demonstrate AI capabilities to serve the needs of the several hundred individuals at our client that is tasked every day to ship millions of barrels of liquid petroleum. And not to forget, this environment itself has to assimilate data, churn data coming from multiple different sources. Some of them are coming within the company, and some are third-party data sources that needs to be brought in from data service providers. So the application itself has this smart user interface. What you're looking at here right now is the user interface of the Lighthouse application, where on the left, this is what the end user sees and uses. On the left, you see all of your vessels. I had to shade them to be able to hide our customer data. And on the right, that you are seeing the past, present, and future likely timeline of these vessels and what they are going to carry. The application itself is capable to recommend, given a group of trades, it's capable to recommend which vessels and which routes the shipment needs to take, and then give the end user the opportunity to move things around on the screen, like in that Mission Impossible movie, that you move things around. And then as you move it, computes that simulated environment so that the end user would be able to see future scenarios from where they are right now, what possibilities they have for the next day or the following days to ship a particular trade. So this 360-degree view of the entire shipping operations domain of our client, what we call a digital twin of the shipping operations of this particular customer. Digital twins are usually digital replicas of physical assets. This terminology has entered our lives from IoT, industrial IoT domain. But in business operations, operation itself, the business itself is an asset. And in Fanar application, you see the visual representation of any historical, present, and future likelihood of that shipping domain, their shipping domain, would take shape. So ability to give a user interface and a user experience to a shipper to be able to see and the past, see where things are at the present, and simulate likely futures and do these within minutes is of extreme importance when you have millions of barrels to ship that day. So the AI capability is applied in a number of different features and capabilities within the Fanar application. The shipping schedule creation, I listed some here visually as well. Shipping schedule creation, requirement fulfillment, feasibility, predicting delays, predicting vessel available capacity, mixing different shipment scenarios, combining requirements, prescribing where and when to fuel and clean a vessel, estimating waiting times, loading and discharge action prescription, meaning that how do you load a vessel, how are you going to discharge a vessel, and the system makes predictions, prescribe you suggested ways to do it, and a number of other important capabilities. So what has taken place in one application, our clients behind the scenes have digitized their entire shipping operations domain. So they created a living dynamic digital twin of their business operations for maritime shipments. And this domain naturally remembers the history of all shipment-related events and important factors. It has an understanding of the present, where things are at the moment, and it is capable to simulate future likelihood scenarios. So behind this smart-looking user interface, there is this massive capability that our client has now, is that they can, in multiple dimensions, represent their business's past, present, and future. This is extremely important for AI capability. You have as a foundational layer a digital twin of your operation where you would be able to observe where things are. You'll be able to reason against them, you meaning algorithmically, the application. And then the application makes suggestions to subject matter experts. And then based on what the experts decided, learns from the efficacy of those final decisions. So in 1 year, within a little over a year, with a little over 10 people, our client, using Microsoft Azure Cloud and our Montesquiou knowledge platform, first created this digital twin of their operations, and then built a specific functionality to be able to do a number of these capabilities that you see on the screen. And this application single-handedly, at the end of this year, will be responsible for the maritime shipment of approximately 10% of the global's petroleum supply. So it is not a small app. It is not a small operation. It's a significant operation for our global economy, shipment of this percentage, this quantity of oil, and it's represented and done through a single interface, very smart interface, and running on a digital twin of the client's operation on Microsoft Azure. I'll stop here, Randy, and I'll take questions.
That's really, really remarkable. If you can stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, let's do that.
And that goes, yep, there you go. Perfect. That's really remarkable. Everybody, feel free to ask questions through the Q&A function. And I want to welcome folks who are joining us on YouTube and Twitter. I know that there was a little bit of a technical difficulty, so that got started a couple minutes late. So thanks again for joining us on those platforms. So really remarkable. So you say that you 10% of global oil shipment. What's the percent? What efficiencies do you get? Do you have a percentage of understanding that how much money did you save? How much fuel did you save by using this software, using this platform?
Yes, of course, and that's a very important question, because when you apply this type of modern technology to in a business problem, business domain, the most important thing is you have a target. You want to increase something, and while doing that, hope to decrease some other stuff. So there's always a target and a well-enumerated target. So in this case, our client wanted to have an average 4% better utilization, therefore a significant reduction on shipping costs, better utilization of the vessels.
Yep.
And then at a month-to-month basis, there are times they go above that. But it is extremely important if you don't have a target like this, attempting to build an application like that is impossible. And allow me to tag on to your question to bring, so it is extremely important to have a goal, an enumerated goal, so you can measure, because these are all data and model driven modern environment. And if you can't measure, you can't improve. So you have to have that target. Second importance is that when I said 10 people that participated in this project and building this capability, it is impossible to do a project like this with data scientists and software developers and etc. alone. Actually, they will not make the difference. The difference in developing this type of smart systems comes with subject matter experts. The experts themselves become part of the development team. The people who use this application themselves were the part of the development team, because it is their expertise. It's not just the data is manipulated. The most important data in this type of settings, when you're trying to create a digital twin of a business environment, is not in disks, is not in Excel. Those are important, critical data. But the most important is in here, is in the brains of the people who are actually working as subject matter experts. So how do you capture that in the context of a problem? And how do you take that and turn it into an AI capability? And so that it can help back to that individual. There's a very important thing. Yeah.
That question was asked. A similar question was asked by my colleague Defna Arslan, who's the Turkey Programs Director at the Atlantic Council. So she says hello. Question from someone in the audience. DI is the only information I have on their name. But what's the impact of the oil glut and shipping losses on your business, on this business in particular? Let me add to that. Because there's a lot of floating storage now, companies are looking for floating storage. Did that play? Was your client able to use their tool to help facilitate floating storage? And then let me add a final question about the oil glut, which is, in broadening the scope of the technology, do you see oil and gas companies thinking more and more seriously about using AI to help drive costs down across the whole value chain in order to try to get their production under what is this very low oil price right now?
I mean, let me answer the second part of the question first, if that's okay. I mean, use of AI is sort of inevitable. Everybody will take advantage of an AI capability. They'll try to build it. But the important thing about oil and gas companies, and we have been privileged to work with some of the world's largest leading oil and gas companies in North America, Europe, and Gulf region, is that these companies are extremely efficient already. They are unbelievably data savvy. And let me put it this way. So not today, but go back 4 months ago, when the oil prices were still reasonably good or high, is that think of this, that you go several miles under earth to bring something and process it, store it, ship it, and then bring it to a gas station and pump to your car. A gallon of it will be price less than a gallon of Coca-Cola. Right. So, I mean, think of it this way. The efficiency of this industry, and which myself and my business partner Donald and us as Mana are new to it, is mind-bogglingly efficient. They are very data savvy. They move slowly, but they're efficient, they're savvy. So, and they are using AI capabilities, narrow earlier, and general AI most recently, and inevitably they will across the board. What was the first part of the question?
about shipping and if the oil glut has impacted how the client is using this tool for shipping, whether the use of floating storage, they've used it to try to allocate floating storage, or if there's just less shipping, or how is that playing out?
Well, the less shipping most likely may take place in the coming months. It has not affected day-to-day trading activity yet, but it may in the coming months.
Got it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everybody, we are out of time, and we try to keep these to a tight half hour. So I apologize for the couple of folks whose questions I didn't get to, but I want to thank everyone for joining us, especially Babur for your remarkable presentation. And make sure to connect with Babur on LinkedIn. He's very active. Thanks to all those who helped put this event together, including Olga Kokova, Vitaly Merla, Jason Styron, Roger Morales, and Lauren Holland. I hope all of you will join us for the next iteration of Innovation Stream with Dr. Jose Reyes, co-founder of NuScale Power, who will discuss passively cooled small modular nuclear reactor technology next Wednesday, May 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern. We also invite you to join us for a virtual fireside chat with Musaba Al-Kabi, CEO of Mubadala Petroleum and Petrochemicals, also May 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern. This presentation will be available on the Atlantic Council website, YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. So please share it with your colleagues. And if you missed the beginning, you can watch there. I look forward to seeing all of you again next time. And I promise I won't have a beard then.
You'll join the team.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Babur.
Thank you, Randy.